Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today as we stand in what is supposed to be the epicenter of our great country. My big brother, Frederick Schaffner, used to start his radio broadcasts with that particular song because he identified his foundation, his rights, his freedoms within the words of that song. Now, Fred was a very, very, very smart man. He was a learned scholar of the Constitution and of our government. He used to always say, "It's the language that is written that is what is most important. It's the words, little brother. It's the words that you use that mean everything." Our forefathers were brilliant with a lot of the language that they had written into the Constitution, which protects our rights in such a way they even wrote in a guarantee clause. That's right, there is a guarantee clause in the Constitution. Article 4, Section 4 of our Constitution. It's clearly written, and I quote, "The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened, against domestic violence." What is the National Defense Authorization Act? Is that not the threat of domestic violence against every state? And those people that live in that house that we pay for, that man signed it. The significance of this guarantee clause is the language that is written. We are guaranteed a republican form of government. It's essential to understand just exactly what that means. In a democracy where the majority vote wins, is what we always hear a lot of these politicians and these political analysts and the reporters in the news say that the United States is. Our rights and our freedoms can be taken away with the presumption of the pre-calculated, predetermined, and predicted outcome of the results of a fair election. Like in 2008, after the presidential election, it came out that Acorn was caught red-handed in all 50 states, registering millions of dead people and cartoon characters. Cartoon characters? I mean, couldn't they have been a little more creative than that? Neither the Federal Election Commission nor Congress held a hearing to disqualify those votes. Why not? What does that tell you about who's involved? Whereas in a republic, where each and every one of our individual rights, our rights granted to each and every single one of us, you, me, every one of us, by who is recognized as the creator. Within this document are to remain, not just written, not only preserved, but protected by this document that was adopted over 224 years ago. I would like everybody to join me in a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. How many people out here, by a show of hands, grew up reciting that in school? I did. I'm proud of it. That pledge is an oath that we have taken for many, many years. As we grew up from children into young, mature-minded adults, we learned academic structure in school. We learned how to identify a problem. We learned how to identify the components within that problem. We learned how to move those components around in that problem. And then we were tested year after year after year on how to solve for those problems. We were given grades according to our academic achievements. But most of all, we learned and developed our critical thinking skills that grew with us and ingrained into ourselves in our everyday life and our way of identifying what could or could not be beneficial to ourselves and to our families. And now we are told by our current government that we are wrong when we identify a problem. And we do see a problem, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
We are wrong that what they are doing, in thinking that what they are doing is best for us and our country. If you're not mad by now, then you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. Let's take the unanimous declaration, the Declaration of Independence, and review that in it is a train of abuses, a list that our forefathers took the time to write down for us so that we know what they were going through, the things that were happening when they were alive, and the reasons why this unanimous declaration was not only drafted, but signed. Are you aware that you can take that same list, those train of abuses, and input current events into each and every single one of them? And there are 27 of them listed in the unanimous declaration. Since then, Americans have dealt with many more abuses. The Act of 1871. I don't think many people are aware of that. The Constitution was rewritten and adopted without the people's knowledge. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913. Foreign investors loaning our government money at high interest rates. The IRS. Get me started on them. A collection agency for the Federal Reserve forcing all Americans to make payments on governmental loans. The Patriot Act, a direct attack on our First and Fourth Amendments. The Department of Homeland Security. They are a domestic standing army, being trained and armed to fight against us. The 2008 FISA Amendment, the illegal domestic surveillance of Americans. The authorization of false flag attacks on Americans. That is domestic violence. What happened to that guarantee clause? Mercury in the vaccinations. GMO corn that secretes its own pesticide. Poisoning of the American people. And this one's very sensitive. Stage 4 biochemical weapons being moved into Stage 2 bioweapon chemical containment centers in the Midwest, where our major food supply is. How many people are aware of that? The increase in the debt ceiling above the GDP. Now, I know this is just a term people use, but you got to come to an understanding of what exactly that means. The GDP, the gross domestic product, that's the value of this country. Yeah. The debt is going above the value of this country. So how long will it be before the world stops loaning us money? And when that happens, our economy will fall because of it. Our troops will be stuck halfway across the world without transportation home, without resupply. Our family members will be trapped in combat zones. Is this the government that you elected? Is it? No. Is this the government that represents you? No. Is this the government that you take pride in running our country? No. So wake up, America. Wake up. Wake up and see just what they are doing. Wake up and see how many of us there really are that know what's going on. It's time to set all of our differences aside, as you've heard earlier before, many speakers have said. Because it's not going to be just one person, nor one group. And I'd like all of you to repeat after me. I am an American. I am an American. We are Americans.
We are Americans.
We build it.
We build it.
We fight it.
We fight it.
We pay for it.
We pay for it.
We live it.
We live it.
This is our country.
This is our country.
Now let's save it.
Let's save it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, JB. And you know, after this is over, we're going to have we have the video of all of this. It's going to be going out throughout the country, throughout the world. It'll be on our website. It'll be a lot of websites. There are going to be newspaper articles written about what we're doing. So the fact that one speaker speaks before another makes little difference, because this is going out to millions of Americans to see what we stand for. I want to also thank, he was here earlier, Bradley Dean of the You Can Run But You Cannot Hide International Foundation and Sons of Liberty. Bradley had to leave. Bradley is a friend, he's a client of mine. He has fought for Christian values in our schools with our kids, teaching them good values. And for that, he was vilified, defamed by MSNBC's Rachel Maddow. You can imagine. We have a court case that's pending on that, on his behalf. He's a real hero, and I want to thank Bradley for being here.